Welcome to another Cricket 24 video. In this one, we are going to be looking at the perfect sliders for each and every format of the game. Let's start with some test cricket. First off, AI difficulty is going to be at legend. Striker timing, do not change that. 50 is perfect. Wicket chance, you'll have to reduce it to 30 because in the last 3 or 4 months, AI teams for some reason get all out under 200 a lot. If you keep this at 30, they'll start scoring a little bit more, making the match a lot more competitive. Ball quality, of course, at 100. You want the AI to bowl great ball after great ball, or at least most of the time, especially in a test match. Run rate is at 60 once again. You can change this, but I think the match is much more interesting when the AI is scoring around 3.5, 4 runs and over. Or if you want, I think 50 is fine as well. Bowling base difficulty is gonna be on hardest as well. Remember, these are the most realistic sliders, so it is gonna be very hard and challenging to play, but it is also gonna be very rewarding. The ideal release window size, keep it at 10. You don't want to bowl no ball after no ball, especially in test cricket, so give yourself 10 on both window size for release and foot plant as well. I think 80 is fine for spin difficulty. Now let's get on to batting, which is also at hardest. The first thing you'll have to change is ball marker display time. Keep it at 30 so you have enough time to see the ball and play shots accordingly instead of premeditating everything. If you keep this at 0, yeah, it's going to be difficult, but most of the time you will just end up flicking everything because you don't have time to play any other shot. The next thing you'll want to change are these 3 sliders. These 3 sliders are basically the most important when it comes to managing the difficulty. If you increase these 3, the game is going to be impossible to bat in. If you decrease this, you can get away with even poor shots. So edge's good input influence is at 10. Edge's okay input influence is at 40 and poor input influence is at 100. So what this means is if you play a poor shot, you are probably 9 times out of 10 gonna edge the ball, and good shots are gonna be rewarded. They'll come off the middle. Okay input is basically sometimes you're gonna edge the ball with okay input and sometimes you're gonna middle the ball. So it keeps it very unpredictable and also pretty realistic. So play and miss input influence is the next thing you'll want to change. Keep this at 20. So playing and missing the ball is going to depend on how and when you decide to play your shots. This is very important. It makes the game so much more realistic. So the lower it is, the more precise your input will have to be. Skill influence, this is basically the better the batsman is, the less he will play and miss. Fielding difficulty, I don't really care about fielding in this game. It is not very deep, so I'll just like to keep it at medium. But if you want to challenge here as well, go for hardest. It is gonna make it much more frustrating, but if you enjoy the fielding mechanics in this game, maybe keep it at hardest. Physics, this is where the game is literally made. You want pace bowling speed minimum and max at 90. In other formats, this is going to be very different, but in tests, you want the ball to be fast. They're not going to be bowling a lot of slow balls. So majority of balls are going to be at the fastest the bowler can bowl. If you can bowl 135, it's going to bowl 135. Here, of course, pace bowling swing is at 100. Pace bowling revolutions is at 100 as well, making the game much more interesting and challenging to play. Spin bowling drift, do not change this, keep it at 50. The more you change this, the more the AI is going to bowl all over the place, making this a mess. Spin bowling revolutions is going to be at 100 as well. And of course, you want the ball to turn, but if you want to make it even more realistic, if it's a flat pitch, you can keep this at 50. If it is a day-fi dusty wicket, you can keep it at 100. That is dependent on what you want. And now the next thing we want to do is keep short force at 20. If you keep this at 50 or something, even an okay cover drive will go for 4. Literally anything, even missed time shots will go for 4, and it'll be very easy to play shots in the air as well. But if you keep it at 20, you will have to earn every single run. Pace bowling visual speed 90 and spin bowling visual speed at 90 as well. This is just a personal thing. I love to see the ball just flying across the pitch at some serious pace. Umpiring, I haven't really changed anything. This doesn't really matter, or it's not going to change anything major when it comes to gameplay. So this is pretty much default. Now let's move on to ODI sliders. Now some things are going to be different than the test sliders. The AI difficulty, base difficulty is going to be at legend, of course. Wicket chance, keep it at 20. I don't know why, but in one days, the AI almost never bats 50 overs. It gets all out in like 30 overs. Keep this as low as you can, 20 or even 10, so that the AI can actually bat 50 overs and put up a good score. Bowl quality 70. You don't want the AI to bowl the same line and length like in test cricket. So if you keep it at 70, it starts bowling a variation of line and length, a lot of short balls, full tosses, good length delivery, so it keeps things interesting. The AI run rate has to be at 70 because once again, the AI is just too slow when it comes to limited overs cricket, especially one days. So keeping it at 70 will give you scores above 300, or if you bowl well, like over 250. Bowling base difficulty once again at hardest. Here there's nothing really different. Window size, release window size is at 10 and foot plant window size is at 10 as well. Batting is at hardest as well, base difficulty. Ball marker, I like to keep this at 40 because in one days you'll want to play some wonky shots, maybe sweeps or reverse sweeps or unorthodox shots, late cuts and all those. So you need a little bit of time to see where the ball is actually pitching and all that. So keeping this at 40 will give you enough time to play all those silly shots. Now again, edge is good input is at 10, okay is at 20 and poor input influence is at 80. So even if you play, you can even keep this at 70. So even sometimes when you play a poor shot, you won't actually edge the ball. It might actually be a shot off the middle of the bat. So it gives you a little bit more room for error, which is great when batting in ODI. So because you're looking to be a little bit more aggressive than you are in test cricket. This I like to keep it at 0 because you're trying to swing the ball out of the ground a lot of times in one day. So if you keep this at 0, it really makes those lofted shots very hard to pull off, making things much more realistic. But if you aren't really used to this game, it can be very frustrating. Fielding, once again, the base difficulty is at medium. Nothing to change here. I don't really bother with fielding in this game. Now here is where things start to change. Pace bowling speed minimum is at 50 because in limited overs, bowlers are going to bowl slower balls and slower balls are going to actually seem like slower balls. If you keep this at 0, it is going to be even more challenging. You'll get out literally on every slow ball, every off cutter. So keep it at 50. It'll give you a nice balance of playing slow balls, but also not being so frustrating that you literally get out every single time. Pace bowling speed max is going to be at 90 because you want the AI to bowl fast when it wants to bowl fast, and of course slow balls are going to be slow. Spin bowling drift is at 33 because I've noticed a lot of wides down the leg side from the AI in limited overs. So keep this at 30 or at 50. Somewhere in between is the sweet spot, but even I'm not sure. Shot force is going to be at 30, so you'll have a little bit more power behind your shots, but still not anywhere close to where even when you play poor shots, you're going to get away. If you play bad shots, you're going to get out. Good shots are going to be rewarded with 4s and 6s. So keep this at 30. Pace bowling visual speed is at 80. Spin bowling is at 70 because I struggle a lot against spinners who bowl slow flighted deliveries. Keeping this at 70 has helped me somewhat. But still, if you watch some of the videos on this channel, the struggle against spin continues. Now let's move on to the T20 sliders, where the base difficulty once again is gonna be at legend. Striker timing is gonna be at 60 because, as I said, the AI can sometimes be too slow in limited overs. Keeping this at 60 ensures that you get a nice healthy score when you're playing T20s, first batting, or if the AI is chasing. Wicket chance is at 40 because if the AI decides to really go after everything, you need something, or the AI is just going to score 300 every single match. So this keeps a nice balance between bat and ball. Ball quality at 60. The lower you keep it, the more the AI bowls everywhere. So in T20s that can be fun, so either 50 or 60. But I have enjoyed playing with even higher ball quality and lower as well in T20s. Run rate is going to be at 80. As I said, the AI is too slow. Keep it at 80. The AI is going to set challenging scores for you to chase down. Bowling base difficulty is gonna be at hardest, ideal release window size is at 10 and foot plant is also at 10, nothing changes here. Batting base difficulty at hardest of course. Ball marker, I mean you can keep this at 40, but if you are just new to this game, even keep it at 50 or 60. Keep it at 50 because I mean you really want to play all the shots in the book, especially in T20 cricket, so I like to give myself a little bit of time, and this is what this slider does. So another thing you'll want to change in T20s is ideal input power boost. So when you play a shot with ideal timing, you just get a little bit of boost. This helps in hitting sixes because when you play on these harder difficulties, it is really hard to hit sixes even when you do everything right. This gives you a little bit more power behind your shots, which can help in clearing the fence. Now here we've come to edges once again. This now poor input influence is at 70, giving you even more room to play poor shots and not get out. OK is at 20 and good is at 10. So even if you play poor shots, some of the times you can get away with it. If you keep this at 100, you'll have to leave everything outside the off stump, which is not really realistic in a T20 match. Play and miss input influence is gonna be at 50 and skill influence is gonna be at 100. You want top order batsmen to play and miss a little less than number 11. If you keep this at 0, then there will be no difference between the opening batsman and a tail ender. Fielding base difficulty is gonna be at medium once again. I don't know why it was set to hardest. So when it comes to pace bowling speed minimum, I really like to keep this at 40 or even 30 to make the game really challenging. Slow balls are going to be a pain to play when you keep this as low as 30 or 20. Even 40 is pretty good, but it is still going to be challenging to play cutters and slower deliveries. Speed max is of course at 90, nothing changes. No matter which format, it is always going to be at 90. So when it comes to short force, I like to keep this at 30 during the power play and 40 or even 50 after the power play because it is very easy to clear the infield. So every lofted shot will go over someone's head and you'll get a boundary easily. So for the first 6 overs, keep this at 20 or 30. As soon as the power play is done, you can keep this at 50. It'll help you hit sixes because at 20 you just cannot hit sixes no matter how well you time the ball. This was my ultimate realistic sliders for all the formats in the game. Click the video on screen to see an ultimate battle between bat and ball. The best batsmen go up against the best bowlers. These sliders are gonna come to use there because that is gonna be a bowler friendly wicket, and on top of that we are playing with the greatest bowlers. For now, like, comment and subscribe for more Cricket 24 videos and updates. Thanks for watching and have a great day wherever you are.